Everybody finally got here. Ivan, Jerry, Craig, Gaten, channel members Pauline, Matt, Don, Donald, Terry, Scott, Skaggs, Cliff, Diane, Arturo, Kimberly, my favorite subscriber, is here. Ted, General Rush, Dan, David, Ted, Will, Carmen, Mary, Ed. Good to see everybody. Sorry I'm late. Had to had to rewrite a script because I don't know. I ran the script for creating the morning movers list and it failed. I was like, what the devil? And it failed with a weird error. It said it can't convert a float, which none of the stocks in the lists were a number. I even double checked it. And I was like, all right, there's no numbers in here. So why are you failing? And I went through it and I was like, well, fudge. And so I wrote a exception thing and put it in the code, and finally it worked. So anyway, without further ado, back to the regularly scheduled planned content here. Have you ever noticed how the stock market seems to get a little odd in the weeks before earnings season? Like it kind of slows down or maybe lags, lulls, dips, maybe and then, after earnings starts, we see a flurry of companies releasing their quarterly earnings, and then we see stuff start to move a lot more. Well, part of the earnings kind of lull, if you will, might be due to something that happens behind the scenes, phenomenon known as the buyback blackout window. So, what is this blackout and why should you care about it? Well, to understand, we first need to talk about stock buybacks. And one of the most powerful controversial forces in the stock market today, in simple terms, a buyback is a share repurchase. And it's when companies buy their own shares from the open market. And this reduces the number of outstanding shares. So instead of dilution where they add more shares, this is a contraction where they're taking shares out of the market, which can have a few key effects. First, it increases the company's earnings per share, or EPS. With fewer shares on the market to divide among profits, well, the earnings per share gets a boost, which can make the stock look more attractive to more investors. Second, it's a way for companies to return cash to shareholders in a more tax-efficient way than dividends. Third, it can be a signal from management that they believe their stock is undervalued and they're putting their vote into the stock going higher. Companies have been using buybacks more and more in the recent years. In fact, since the 2008 financial crisis, corporate share buybacks have been a massive source of demand for stocks, sometimes exceeding the Federal Reserve's quantitative easing programs, QE type stuff, on the market impact. Now, here's where it kind of gets interesting because companies have a lot of sensitive, non-public information that they can't disclose in the weeks leading up to earnings reports. They're restricted from buying back their own shares during this time, and it's kind of like a SEC regulation thing. All right, they don't have an official regulation, but they ask companies to institute a stock buyback blackout period. Now, the main reason for this is to prevent any type of insider trading taking place and just kind of take the onus off of people by just having a universal blackout window. It applies to executives with any kind of knowledge of company financials, and it applies to the company itself. So there's no hanky-panky, accusation of malfeasance in the market. Imagine, that company knows it's about to report a blowout earnings. It would be huge, and it could be an unfair advantage for some of the executives to go in the market and buy up a ton of its own stock at a lower price right before good news, and this thing sends higher. If you believe in, that stock news actually takes things higher. Now, so to maintain a level playing field, most companies have this policy that typically starts about it's not universal. It's, some companies are 2 weeks, some weeks are 5 weeks. And it's 2 to 5 weeks, depending on the company, before the end of the quarter and lasts up until the day they report earnings, basically. And while there's no official federally mandated rule for these blackouts, it's a standard practice to avoid the wrath of the SEC and insider trading rules, specifically Rule 10b-5. That brings us to the big question. Does this temporary absence of major buyers in the market actually affect stock prices? I mean, there's two main schools of thought on this. One side argues that yes, blackout periods can lead to market pullbacks. Some analysts have pointed to the fact that market dips have coincided with blackout periods, suggesting that the lack of buyers supports, lack of liquidity and lack of, conviction in the stock market. And after all, if a company's buying back billions of dollars of its own stock, that's a pretty significant source of demand. And when you suddenly turn it off in a buyback blackout, well, it kind of dries up. On the other hand, some studies have found that no significant negative impact on the market performance during these blackout periods occurs. Research has shown that the excess returns from stocks that are actively repurchasing shares are driven more by the information of their earnings reports than the actual economic value of the company, rather than, those buybacks themselves. So what's the verdict? Well, truth is the impact of blackouts is subject to debate. I mean, that's kind of what I just outlined. So it's likely the effect varies depending on the overall market conditions, of course, and the companies that are involved in these. So it brings us to the broader controversy surrounding stock buybacks. Proponents argue that they're flexible and efficient way to return capital to shareholders, and signal confidence by the leadership of the company that we think the company is going higher. Critics, however, contend that they can be used to artificially inflate earnings per share in the company, sometimes trigger executive bonuses, and it's malfeasance, and that money could be better spent on long-term investments like research and development projects, or actually paying some of the underlying employees. There's schools of thought and arguments both ways. There's also risk that a company might buy back its own stock at a high price, and that'd be a bad investment, and the stock falls. So next time you see the market acting weird before earnings, kind of muted like we are seeing right now, we're entering the stock buyback period right here, 2 to 5 weeks before earnings hit, and those earnings are going to start ramping up here kind of the second week of July. So make sure you like and subscribe and give me some feedback on these monologues. I've been trying to add more and more content like this for you in the mornings. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if you don't like it. I appreciate the feedback. And remember, today at 5 p.m., 30 minutes of awesome coming up. We will do at least 30 minutes of your requests. So all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Before we talk trades, past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instruments, including stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries. If you desire personal financial advice, that's not what I'm here to do. Hire and consult a financial advisor. Look at the calendar here this week. Yesterday was kind of a little bit on the benign side. We had existing home sales came in a little better than expected, but not really great. We're certainly not back to pre-COVID levels. We're in this depressed zone down here. Housing prices and interest rates putting the kibosh on existing home sales. Then we're seeing Fed Chair Powell testify today and tomorrow. What he says to Congress, sometimes it moves the market a little bit. So these are colored a red event today and tomorrow. We'll see him testifying. It's basically giving Congress their annual or their quarterly update is usually what we see. And yeah, so we'll see what happens there. I don't really expect anything crazy, but you never know. He may hint at rate cuts or rate raises or, inflation or anything that could potentially make the market move a little bit. And then we have new home sales coming out tomorrow, Wednesday. Thursday, we get some final GDP numbers right there, some unemployment claims, core durable goods, and might move the market a little bit. PCE on Friday. And that kind of wraps up we do have, I guess, one last trading day in June right there. We do have a holiday on the 4th of July, and then we'll have earnings picking up that next week right there in July. So it's kind of the outlook for the next couple weeks for us. Alrighty. Welcome to the show, everybody. And I'm just frustrated because I was behind this morning. So I like to read fast. I don't like to waste everybody's time. So when I'm going off the cuff, I can't necessarily, my brain doesn't work that fast necessarily. So a little bit slower wheels turning. So UCO back to, that's one reason why I got out for supercharged alerts. Volatility is why I expect in the oil market as we come back down pretty violently here. That potentially was 5 up right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 618 retrace. That would be what I expect right there. Didn't really think about that yesterday morning when I was here reporting or speculating on where we were going to go. So right now we want to see this hold right in here. Hold that area, possibly down to here. Bounce if we're going higher. If we get through this 59, 60 area, probably coming down on down lower 50s, maybe even down to 49. Could see that finally spike down in that zone there. So this is what to watch on oil. If you're long oil, this zone. If we don't hold that, here's the last line in the sand right down there around 59. Probably going right down there. Big news. This one hit the target this morning. Hitting the target right there. 49, even on the log scale, hitting the target. So that was the thing we were waiting on. Now we might see a pullback, or that's the thing, one of the signs I was waiting on. Maybe not you were waiting on, but one of the things I was waiting on in the market was watching for Microsoft to hit that upside target. Now it's possible that we see an extension. 508 would be the next upside target for that. Possible. Typically, when we hit that, we see a pullback, though. See a pullback. And we might retest that high before we push on up. But if we get below it, we could come all the way back down, roadmap line, or something deeper like a 618 retrace. Let's keep that in mind. The rest of the Mag 7s all still have this first move down, second move down potential, until Apple breaks out of this little triangle here, makes a higher high than this one right back here in April. Still have that. Even if we do that, we just push this arrow up here instead of right here. Right now, that's the high. Still has a downside potential to down to 130. Amazon still has a downside potential to 140-ish, 150, 140, 150. Google still has a downside potential to 120, 120, 125. Meta still has a downside potential all the way down here to 450. Nvidia has a downside potential all the way down to 89 right now. Tesla looks like we might be able to break out here. Watch for this to complete the next move up. Probably find resistance right around 400. If we stop right where we are, that's still the first move down here. Potential second move down right here. We'd look for support around 269. We do have the bigger first move down and that bigger second move down that could push it down to 100 area. Don't really want to see that. I want to see this hold in here and go higher. So 2 different levels, 2 different time frames of support going on Tesla. That's kind of the Mag 7s right there. Broader market and more chop, pushing higher again. Looks like we may, it's really scaring me here. If we break out to that new all-time high, we complete the 2007 pattern. So if we break out above 61.45, essentially, on the S&P 500, got about a 30, 40, 50, 70, 8, about 80 points higher. If we go about 80 points higher, we complete the 2007 pattern. This right here, that led to a 57% pullback in the S&P. I don't really want to see that. And this is just to put in perspective here. This is what I'm talking about right here. Let me pull that other one back up. So you can see, look, this right here, bounce off the roadmap line, come back up. Looks almost the same number of candles. If we spike a higher high, big trouble potential in the market. Be careful. Be careful, be careful. You know, I'm not perma cautious, I'm perma profit. That's basically, I like to make money. I tend to be more bullish or more bearish depending on which way I'm cautious about. This right now, we have the push up and puts us up in this danger zone right now with this pop higher this morning. Perma cautious. S5TW might spike the top again. It's hardly possible. S5FI, excuse me, might spike a higher high. If we get above 90, that's most certainly an indication that we're topping out. S5TH just hanging at the 50. So overnight action, somewhat bullish, but caution on the top. Caution on the top. That's what I gotta say. And we didn't start World War III, but caution on the top. So Russell coming back down. We'll look for support down here at the 15-minute. We get below that, just start ramping up. 30-minute. Draw, please, right there. And then 1 hour. It's all kind of in the same area right there. So that's very weak support. Since they're all lined up at the same point. That means if we slice through it, not many layers to get through. They're all kind of grouped up right there around 2100 to 2130. So if we slice through that, it could be big on the downside for Russell. That's the canary to watch. As I already talked about, oil probably going for that 618 zone right there, which is where we were having trouble breaking through. We bounced off, bounced off, bounced off, bounced off, blasted through. Now we're back to test it again. If we hold above, probably going higher. That next move on oil. Okay, JT, what next move on oil would you be looking for? Low, high, low. We'd be looking for a potential to this 100 price right here. And this could get pretty spicy pretty quick. Right in there. Pretty spicy pretty quick. So if we break out above 70 again after holding support right here, UCO, that would be a way to play it. This would be a way to play. And this may be hunting for the retrace here, the retest of this, 618 zone. I don't know. This is leverage, so it moves a little bigger and doesn't always follow the patterns, but we can see that retesting and bouncing. Keep in mind the support levels I talked about. Gold. Well, anybody surprised? Here we go. Probably coming on down. Could stop in this vicinity, but might go as deep as down here. Not surprising to me at all. Bitcoin. Nice little pop. That overlapped. I called it quits on my short in the supercharged alerts because we overlapped yesterday. At the point when I noticed we were overlapping on that strong rally, I was like, we're done. We're potentially done on the downside here. Now we have this big overlap, and that's probably more indicative that we're going higher than lower at this point. Now, that's one giant move off the lows. Not really great structure. Looks like 3 waves, and we could get continuation lower. So despite it being kind of overlappy, this gunk right here still supports possibly one more move down right there. Dun, dun, dun. Ethereum stuck at that 30 minutes. Might be done, might not be done. Didn't go as deep as the, this could just be a first move down, retrace, next move down, 4 or 5. Could be a 1, 2, 3. I don't know. We'll see. Just a first move down so far. And we didn't get to the 618 retrace. Still further downside potential on Ethereum. NKD still filling out this little triangle deal. Still in the zone here. Breakouts, breakdown. Unclear. Nothing very telling. Dollar pushing back lower. As I said the last couple days, it looked like it was unfinished on the downside. So, but we did this 618 retrace. If we hold that right there, and that's the low, we don't go any lower than what we've done, probably going on higher to test that roadmap line. But if we get a push on, if we get the daily close down here or push back below the low we've already made today, probably going on down to the 97 area, possibly even retest this trend line down here. We already hit the Mag 7 stuff, and so I pull up all the things moving up $2 or more in the pre-market, put it on the gainers list. All the things moving down $2 or more, put it on the decliners list, and we hunt for opportunities. And this was the number one, and I think this is the one that was causing a problem in, for whatever reason, NA. I think NA means something special in Python, and I think it picked it up. It was one of the big poppers, and I noticed it's off the gainers list, so I suspect this was the problem, but it is biotech, or it's a semiconductor, excuse me, and has a reverse split, so not really something I'm going to mess with. Reverse split right there. I just can't bring myself to mess with it. MasterCard has pulled back supposedly on the stablecoin bill getting approved. Still came up shy of the target. So 600 upside target. Visa, same pullback, same everything, same secondary roadmap bounce, same missed the target. 376 on the upside. Both of those good for going higher. NKTR. Biotech pharmaceutical stuff. Reverse split. Dumpster fire. AppLovin. I warned about this potentially turning down at this area. Coming back for a secondary roadmap test here. If we can hold this, we still have the, we've set the target. Like we did get above, we did get a close above the resistance zone. So 602 is in the cards. I would just be very cautious here. A move below the roadmap line might be indicating failure and coming on down for a first move down, second move down situation like we see in most of the Mag 7s. Korea, 3x bull, just keeps being bullish, breaking up into this resistance. Be careful, that may be where it stalls out. This has reverse splits, has a long-term downtrend. It is not long-term bullish. Bulls, again, reverse split. Kind of crazy in here. Microsector FANG, innovation, 3x leverage ETF on that stuff. If you think we're actually breaking higher on Mag 7s and FANGs, 229 would be the upside target there. I would be very cautious putting much money on that. Goldman Sachs going for the breakout, 717. AVGO going for the target, 274. 5. Be careful. That's 3 moves up. Resistance right here at 189. That's a downtrend. Downtrend's still intact here. Very overlappy, doesn't look finished. Be careful on Phi. SAP is the wrong one. Need the New York Stock Exchange version. That hit the targets, probably coming down to the roadmap line on SAP. MSTR. Watch out if Bitcoin's doing a fake pop here, fake out, suck in for a final flush. We might see MSTR hit that roadmap line. If it does, that can set up the bigger bounce right there. I'll just be cautious here. We're not seeing a lot of very committal price action here. Just kind of a grind sideways. Gosh, for a whole month now, just grinding in the really tight range for MSTR. I mean, this thing's been moving, and then we're stuck in this like 20-point range for a month. Caution. Visa, we already talked about. Snow. Oh, baby. Coming up to the target zone. I've been expecting this to pop that 260 target up there for a while. We may see a bigger retrace off of that before we can go higher. LEU, 215. If we get above that, maybe something crazy like 400. Can't say. SMH, be very cautious here. Now, this could pop. Could go on up to new highs. Big retrace. Way longer than any of my algorithms would be looking for. 300 will be the upside target on that. Bigger move. ETHU didn't quite push into the 618. I still expect more downside, but if we get above the roadmap line, could be shooting off higher. SOXX, this one also another semiconductor ETF run by BlackRock. If we break higher than those highs, we could be set up to go up to 289. MDB, turn down at the roadmap line. Despite being on the bull list, this is potentially bearish for going lower. Be very, very careful. AMD pushing on up. We're looking for this finality move of the first 5 up here. It can extend, probably resistance at this 138, maybe 150 area. Right here to here, somewhere in this zone. And then we'll probably get a retrace back down here, somewhere in this vicinity, possibly as low as that 110 area before we head higher, if we're going to be bullish. If we break down, then the downside's not done, and we're going to go down below this low we made around 75. CEG, probably set to go up to 393. FUTU, that's been super choppy. Golly. Super choppy. Got this high, we got this low. Set up for 142 on the upside. TSM, this one's set up, it's been set up for cruising on up to 245 for a couple weeks. Carvana held the retest so far. As I talked about yesterday, that can set us up to get the extension to the 1618 at 444. I'd be careful if we break back down below that breakout price there, around 285, maybe coming on down to 245. And if we don't hold that, revisit the low here at 145. That's a big fat range right there. 300 points from 445 to 145. A little bit dangerous right there. MU, climbing. We expect this to climb on up. Hit the targets up here, 180, possibly 200. Bullish breakout. We do have a little bit of, we have this gap down resistance right there. We got to get through. We're grinding it right now. I want to see this pop on through, get some enthusiasm to the upside. IWO, grinding on the roadmap line. This might be kind of really cautious. First move down, second move down. This looks a lot like Mag 7 stuff right here. That pattern looks very much like the Mag 7s. Be very careful here. Could see a push down to 200. FAS, getting that bullish pop here. If we break out above that high, set for 210 on the upside there. CRM, bounced off the roadmap line. Watch for continuation back down. That could complete a 5 down too. Right here, look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, and something worse to the downside for Salesforce. Coinbase, looking for that to break on out here. 396, Connell. Here, we can get above that 618 right there. Be looking for 107 potential on that one. Be pretty spicy. QNTM, that's a biopharma, not my favorite, with the reverse split in here. Not going to trade it. SPXL. We're doing all the bullish things here. Now, SPX is right up here near the highs, and this is still way down here at the 786. So even if we break higher on the S&P, this has got a long way to go to get some upside action here. So a lot of damage was done to this one during that last pullback. Upstart coming up into the 618. Watch for this resistance here. If we turn down, we may go revisit the low. KMT. Resistance at the roadmap line. WGS. Resistance at the 618. We could turn down. That's 3 waves up into it. Be careful. Large gap down. That's resistance. This is a nursing, medical, biotech, pharma, related medical stuff. Food and Drug Administration involved. Capital One, looking like we're going to blast on out. 222. QBTX. No comment. CDTX. No comment. Net, probably going to hit 195. ETHT. It probably has further downside to go, like ETHU, EDU, popped into the roadmap line. A big gap, like this has got lots of resistance built up in here. Potential that this is a bottom. I'd want to see this get up through, fill some gaps, retest, hold support. Before I was convinced we're going higher. DoorDash at the target. Might go on up to 260 where we've got the long-term highs here. CRDO, looking for that to push on out. 97, AMAT. And grind in the roadmap line, not very clear. Still have a major resistance on up here at 195. UAL, oh nice. Potential that this is a bottom. First move up. 5 up, retrace, hold the 4. We could be setting this up for 120, possibly 140, maybe even something bigger. Right there, really nice. I know Delta Airlines, similar kind of bounce cooking. Beautiful upside potential. See, we got that first move down, second move down, held right there. Didn't go as deep as this, but we still have that bigger upside potential. Maybe 110 on that one for Delta. Jets probably has the same sort of pattern. Cooking on Jets. Very nice. Very nice potential. If we can get on up through that, be really nice. Upside, be looking for 28, possibly 30 on Jets. Uber, nice little bounce. Apparently, Tesla didn't destroy their business, so potential to extend on up to 104. Kind of retested that breakout. Once again, XLK, probably going to push on up to 254. ANET, grind in this roadmap line zone. Not bullish, not bearish, not committal. TECL, CN3X bull on technology. If we can get above this resistance, 120. Let's see. Man, that was a very aggressive downside. So we could see this pop up to 135 if things don't turn down. FedEx, I'm very cautious though. FedEx resistance right up here at 241 until we get above that. Be careful. I got a package that's been going between 2 cities in Kansas for a week and a half. It's just been going back and forth between 2 cities. I'm going to have to call FedEx today and see, like, I thought it finally over the weekend it was coming toward Knoxville. No, it went back to the other city. It's literally been back and forth like 6 times. between these two cities in Kansas, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this morning it went back to the one that's further away from Knoxville. I was like, what the freaking fork? They need to get their crap together. Anyway, I digress. That package was shipped on June 3rd and was supposed to be here on the 7th. And here it is, the 24th. It went to Idaho instead of Knoxville and Salt Lake City. And it like went from New Jersey to Salt Lake City to Idaho, back to Salt Lake City, back to, I don't even know what's going on with that package. Anyway, guess I call them, see what's up. EWY, South Korea, coming up into resistance, possibly if we get above it, 106 right there. XXRP, yeah, that's not looking super bullish. That's a lower low. Can't really do much off this chart with a 2x leverage and lower low. Oklo, be careful. That hit an upside target. We are back testing the breakouts. Could set it up for extension 82, possibly even higher, 125. But might come back down right there. SPG. Simon Property Group, that's bearish under the roadmap line. Be careful. That can be first move down, next move down. That was a 3-wave move down, though. First move up, retrace. Ambiguous. Haven't hit support, so we've got support right in here. If we get below it, we might do an extension on lower. Got resistance right there at 160, support down here at 150, and we're just hanging in the middle. So it's not very tradable for me right now. No clear indication because this could get continuation lower. Could be that we're going higher. There's no clear indication. Lemon, not touching it. ARM. Back up into the resistance. It's kind of interesting. We, all the way back here, I drew a sideways arrow. We tried to push higher, tried to push lower, and we're just basically back at it 9 months later. Hadn't really gone anywhere from this level for a long time. It's been a pretty significant magnet type level for well over a year, almost a year and a half. Try to go lower, try to go higher, try to go lower, try to go higher, try to go lower, try to go higher. We're just churning this area right here on ARM. It is a big range. The low end of the range, 82. The high end of the range, 192. It's like 100-point range, but we're just kind of hanging. APPX, 2x leverage on App11. If App11 can break out, this would go higher in a hurry. If App11 goes on a correction, this is going to get devastated pretty quickly. AVAV. Potential for this to get the extension higher. This could be set up for a bigger move, possibly somewhere up here around 500. Oracle. Hit the upside target at 212. Watch for the retrace. If we can hold the breakout at 197, 226, possibly even 270 on the upside there. TQQQ. Maybe, possibly. I'm not feeling very strongly about this. Since it's a 3x leverage, QQQ up, back up near the highs, and this one's still way down here. Just to get back to the high would be pretty big, but be careful on TQQQ. Be careful. If we were going up new highs, could be 107, but not convinced there. BA, I think we're going to get this retrace back to 160. 618 retrace. Could take a couple months. QLD. It could be set up for 130 on the upside there. Reddit. If we can break out, that could get really spicy really quickly. 269, but it has that same pattern as the Mag 7s, which could push it down to 47. Since this is IPO, I'm still very cautious. That was only a 3-wave move up. Corrective would be my primary kind of expectation here. Google, we already talked about. QCOM. Resistance, not able to break through. Sideways. We're just in this range. We've been here since last July. Try to break out, try to break down. Just kind of hovering in this relatively tight range. 30 point. We took a little diversion up and down. And I need Discord link. The Discord link that's in the one-click members area. members.prosperitypub.com. Go check it out. And Korea Electric Power. Crazy Pop. SMR. If you're having trouble getting there, prosperitypub.com/help. They just started up with their customer service live. They're there 10 to 1 every day. That looks like we might. I mean, we back tested. We might be on the 5186 extension for SMR. CLS looks like we're set for 164 on the upside. Affirm. It is there. Check the members area and it's not there. It is there. I got a whole slew of people to tell you it's there. And it's in the one-click area. It says how to get in Discord, and it's a big icon right there. And 94. But like I said, you can go to prosperitypub.com/help, and they'll help you get there. BitX retrace held right there. Could be an indication we're going higher. Got TU. Same kind of chart, same potential to go higher. EETH. Be careful, that might go on down. 618 retrace. Yen. And we're stuck in this zone here. So we did make a lower low. We made a move up. We haven't got any kind of retrace. This is leverage. Be careful. Not very clear what's going on yen right there. CWeb. That one's less bullish than yen. And we could be first move down, next move down, potential right here. Baba still looking kind of bearish. Baidu bearish under the roadmap line. JD bearish under the roadmap line. EDD bearish under the roadmap line. Yeah, be careful being bullish on China. FNGU. Well, that took a whacking. They like did something with the ticker on that one. They like it was FNG something else for a while, and now it's back to FNGU. Circle. Watch for this to be topping out, possibly 352, but this is USDC, and we might see that big. Yeah, that one's gonna come to the party's gonna be over soon on that one, probably sooner than later. DFDV probably coming back down to the roadmap line. UPXI. Be careful. Reverse split. Danger. It's in the air. GLD probably coming back to the roadmap line. Possibly. LMT under the roadmap line. Not extremely bullish. GDXU. Watch for that to return to the roadmap line. HUSA. Watch for that to return to the roadmap line. SNX. Oh, that was declining. Now it's popping. Let's see what we got. Potential 154. Shiny. Potential to come back down. MAAS. All, I haven't done away with any channels, so. Sidebar. MAAS. Where's the bottom? Who knows? Nugget. Potential to, gosh, retrace back to the roadmap line. JNUG. Potential to retrace back to the roadmap line. Restoration hardware. Already talked about that the last couple days. Potential to get that 618 retrace, find that support, and then bounce really bigly, hugely. AEM, support the roadmap line, 104. CF, potential to come back down to 85. VXX, ooh, that one's getting ugly quick. DG, potential to come back to the roadmap line. That looks like we've got a 5 up in place. Would want to see something back down in here before we go higher again. UVIX, probably going on, making lower lows. USO, coming back down, hunting that support, either at the roadmap line or the 618. Similar to UCO, but this is not leveraged. Possibly down to 68. VIXI, probably going lower low, like UVIX. AU, Ashante Gold, might be coming back down to the roadmap line at 36. FANG, bounced off of the roadmap line. That could be a leading diagonal, in which case we might see 88.6 retrace, potential deep retrace, something deeper than a 618 would be the expectation there. But as always, it can do whatever the heck it wants to do. Not clear price action off the lows. May see it return back to the 125 area before we can get broken through the roadmap line. And if we push on down, it could make a lower low still. That's not very clear all the way down. All right, stuff that was actually set up for entries today. Let's check it out. See what we got. ADTN. And there's an entry right there. Not a very big bounce, though. There's the high, there's the low. Potential for 885. ALLE. Ooh, that was a tight one right there. Here was the high, here was the low. Potential up to 147. Let's see, EA. Why would it pull up the something that's not the US stock? So weird. Look for 162 on that one. Not very good on the statistics for any of these. FBIZ. And that one's been really choppy. I think I'd probably skip that one, but 52.12 on the upside. Ori. And that one's had an entry for a while. 40.73 upside. SMR. And Smilster Scientific. If you are into this kind of thing, that little bounce, 55.11 would be the target. SUI. We had this upside, the downside, and that one didn't act. Oh, that's not the right thing, whatever that is. SUI. There we go. It's already got an entry back here from this bigger bounce. So I'm looking for 135, possibly. Gosh. It's just a sideways consolidation. I wouldn't really want to get involved in that, but 141, 135, 141. Targets TRC. Another sideways consolidation. Not my favorite kind of price action here. Or continuation. Look for 1781 on that one. Bias for the day. Remember, come back at 5 p.m. Eastern. 30 minutes of awesome coming up. And rejecting that. I'd watch for this to turn a little bearish here. Right there. 15 minutes. And watch out for that return to the rollback line right there. All right. Yeah, I'm not here for yeah. There's the link. Go to prosperitypub.com/help. They're there live. That's what they do. I don't know much about OneClick. I helped build it, but I don't know much about it. Don't know how I don't have access to the customer system or anything like that. So be careful out there. Could we go higher? Sure. We get new all-time high. That's the red flag danger zone. That's 61.50. If we hit that, red flag, danger, danger, danger. Maybe even black flag, danger. So watch for the retrace. Otherwise, we might just drift through the end of the month into earnings next month. Be careful out there. The account you save may be your own. I'll see you again tomorrow or 5 p.m. Eastern for requests. And if not, tomorrow morning, same bad time, same bad channel. We'll do it all over again. Look for stuff moving, opportunities for the day. Have a great